All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're demystifying the technical blueprint of modern event app development. If you've ever organized a gathering, whether that's an intimate corporate training or a massive multi-day festival, you already know that keeping everything on track is, well, a monumental task. So, we're taking all that complex software development and turning it into a clear, actionable roadmap. Picture this. It's literally the ultimate event nightmare. Thousands of printed flyers are already in the hands of your attendees. Suddenly, a pipe bursts, or a keynote speaker is delayed, and you have to move everything to a completely different hall. If you're relying on paper, game over. You're stuck. Guests show up at the wrong place, your hotline rings off the hook, and frustration completely peaks. But with a mobile app, you just update the schedule, and boom, every single attendee gets a push notification with the new reality in seconds. It's a fundamental shift from static planning to real-time dynamic control. So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at solving event organization chaos, then your dual digital assistant, inside the app architecture, the 5 stages of development, and finally, ready-made versus custom apps. Let's get to it. Starting with Section 1, Solving Event Organization Chaos. Moving past printed flyers and manual errors, let's actually look at how this plays out in the real world. Take the Junkator Eco Fashion Contest, for example. It's this incredible competition where student designers create clothing entirely from recycled materials. Now, initially, they were accepting all their applications via email. And as the competition grew, it became an absolute logistical disaster. We're talking flooded jury inboxes, organizers totally losing sight of the big picture, and teenage participants completely unengaged with this clunky, outdated email process. But by building a dedicated app, they centralized the whole shebang. Participants could register, form teams, apply directly, and the jury could review everything in one single place. And the best part? They added social media elements like a shared feed, likes, comments, and real-time fan voting. It literally transformed a boring administrative bottleneck into a vibrant digital community. That one move allowed the competition to successfully scale from the UK all the way to Europe, the USA, and the UAE. Moving on to Section 2, your dual digital assistant, working for both organizers and participants. You know, event apps aren't just one monolithic thing. When you're mapping out your strategy, you absolutely have to choose the right platform to fit your specific event format. Like, if you're an internal team running logistics, you probably just need an event planner app that's focused on budget management and contractor control. If your goal is strictly getting people through the door, a ticket sales app handling QR codes and payments hits the nail on the head. But then look at the custom apps category. This is the sweet spot where you combine the participants' need for navigation and interactive networking with the organizers' need to control the program and send out push notifications. It's all about aligning the app's core function with the primary goal of your event. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is knowing the difference between the essential minimum stack, just to get people through the door, and the extended stack, which creates a living, breathing environment. Your minimum stack, completely non-negotiable. Without QR tickets, a filtered schedule, a sitemap, and push notifications, your app is basically just a digital brochure. But that extended stack? Man, that is where the magic happens. By adding things like real-time chat, live broadcasts for your hybrid audiences, and gamification, like, say, giving attendees points for visiting certain sponsor booths, you turn passive attendees into active, engaged participants. And for the organizers, the extended stack gives you deep, actionable analytics. You can see exactly which halls were packed and which ones were crickets, giving you literal gold mines of data for next year's planning. All right, Section 3, Inside the App Architecture. The front of house and back of house. Let's pop the hood and see how this software actually ticks. First up is the client part. Think of this as the front of house stage where your attendees actually experience the event. This is everything the user touches, sees, and clicks. And listen, it needs to be incredibly intuitive because frankly, your attendees are only going to spend a couple of seconds trying to figure it out before they just give up. It has to look gorgeous, respond instantly, and this is critical, it absolutely must work flawlessly across both iOS and Android, because your audience is for sure bringing a mix of both devices to the venue. And here is a massive tip. This is where cross-platform development, using frameworks like Flutter, becomes a total game changer. We're talking about saving up to 30 to 40% of your budget. Back in the day, if you wanted an iPhone app and an Android app, you had to hire 2 completely different development teams to write 2 entirely different sets of code. Fast forward to today, developers can write a single code base that deploys perfectly to both platforms. You keep the quality incredibly high for everyone, but you drastically slash your development time and costs. It's a no-brainer. Now, while the client part is what people see, the backend and API, that's your heavy lifter. If your backend is weak, your app is going to crash the exact second thousands of attendees try to check the schedule at once. Picture the opening morning of a major conference. The doors open at 9 a.m., right? At 8:58 a.m., 2,000 people simultaneously open the app to see where the keynote is. If your server infrastructure isn't designed to handle that massive instantaneous spike in traffic, the whole thing was down. The backend is the invisible workhorse, quietly processing every ticket scan, every single chat message, and every schedule update, making sure the visual interface stays buttery smooth even under extreme pressure. And finally, we have the control panel. This is your exclusive back-of-house control room. It gives you real-time authority over the entire flow of the event. You don't need to call a developer every time you need to make a tweak. With this digital dashboard, an organizer can just log in from a laptop right in the production booth, type out a quick news update, hit send, and instantly push a notification to every single smartphone in the building. It is quite literally your ultimate remote control for the event. Moving right along to Section 4, the 5 stages of development, from blueprint to App Store. Let's take a look at the actual timeline of making this a reality, taking the mystery right out of the software development lifecycle. It kicks off with 1 to 2 weeks of intense planning and writing out technical specs. You've got to define exactly what you're building before you build it. Makes sense, right? Then 4 to 7 weeks of UX and UI design. That's mapping out the screen diagrams and user logic so it looks good and actually makes sense to a human being. Then comes the biggest chunk, the coding. 6 to 12 weeks to build both the front end and that invisible heavy lifting back end we just talked about. Next, please don't skip this. Testing. 2 to 4 weeks of rigorous functional, safety, and load testing to guarantee it won't crumble on opening day. And finally, factor in 1 to 2 weeks for publishing, because Apple and Google have strict moderation processes before they let anything onto their stores. So, realistically, 2 to 3 months. That is the baseline timeline you absolutely must plan for to launch a stable, basic event app. Honestly, if someone tells you they can build a custom, robust event app from scratch in 4 weeks, you should be extremely skeptical. Squeezing this complex process into a single month almost always guarantees a fragile app that will fail exactly when you need it most. And if you're adding complex features like live broadcasting or gamification, you need to budget for 3 months minimum. Plan early, folks. Finally, Section 5, ready-made versus custom apps, making the right investment. Here's the ultimate business crossroads for any organizer. You have to weigh the sheer speed of a ready-made subscription against the limitless scale and deep system integration of a custom build. And look, there is no universal right answer here. If you're running a standard event with, say, 1,000 attendees, time is tight and budgets are strict, a ready-made solution is phenomenal. You can launch it in a few days, pay a monthly subscription, and it totally covers the basics. Sure, the branding might look a bit generic, and it might hiccup if the venue's Wi-Fi drops out, but it gets the job done. However, if you are expecting upwards of 5,000 attendees, you need a custom build, period. If your event is out in a field with spotty internet, you need a custom app engineered with robust offline capabilities. If you need this app to talk directly to your company's internal HR portal or a complex CRM system, off the shelf just won't cut it. Custom development pays massive dividends when the app becomes a controlled, unique, and long-term asset for your entire organization. I want to leave you with a provocative thought to challenge how you view the long-term strategy of your organization's events. Ask yourself, is your event just a one-time gathering, or is it the beginning of a unified digital ecosystem? Are you just trying to get people through the door next Tuesday, or are you building a tool that embeds your events directly into your company's permanent digital infrastructure? How you answer that will tell you exactly what kind of app you need to build. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this architectural blueprint helps you execute your next event with absolute precision.